Did that. All right, this is Bishop Franklin from Gospel Tabernacle Church. We're located at 3818 Barnes Avenue, Bronx, New York, where I'm the senior pastor. We have been serving the Northeast.
All right, this is Bishop Franklin
for
from Gospel
over-
Tabernacle Church.
Okay,
We're located at 30.
We have been serving the Northeast Bronx since 1988, and we have seen a lot of changes in the Bronx, and we want to be very adaptive, a very relevant church, very holistic church. And one of the big things on the mind of the membership and of the community is immigration. And we have an expert, a lawyer, who's also in the Northeast Bronx, very accessible. And he has volunteered to really share with us his knowledge. As you know, a lot has changed. A lot of the members are in fear of even coming back out to church. We see what ICE is doing, going to the steps of immigration during the interview and just pretty much arresting folks and separating them from families. And we see where the fees have doubled, right? And all these things are look like an agenda just to get us to one, return home, self-deport, or don't even know what to do. So I'd like to introduce to you legal counsel, lawyer, Ola Azeez. And Ola, the floor is yours. You have a wide audience. As I said, we are streaming, and the folks on Zoom, if they have any questions, please don't wait till the end. He's very fluid. You can ask your questions. If you don't want to ask it, put it in the chat, and I will read your questions from the chat. Okay, Ola, you got it.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure, and I'm very grateful that I was invited to speak to my community people, my members in the community. I've been in this community for the last 40 years. My office is on White Plains Road, and my home is right here on 224th Street by Bronx Road. So I'm very familiar with the community. It has changed. Now, so it's a pleasure having this conversation with you people. Please, if you have any questions that you want to ask me, stop me, because I would rather answer your question than just tell you what I know that is going on, because that might not be what you want to hear. And I'm going to keep it very simple without giving you the law on what is happening or whether what the new Trump administration is doing is, I'm not going to cite cases. I'll just tell you in simple English what is going on. And you can stop me. You can put the question on chat if you don't want to ask the question by yourself. Since Trump came in, even in this last administration, you remember the first thing he did was this Muslim ban and all this nonsense that he was doing. Some of it was successful, some of it were challenged in court, and at that time, the Supreme Court is not 6-3 as it is now. When I say 6-3, I mean 6 Republican nominees and 3 Democratic nominees is what we have now. Of course, the judges of Supreme Court, they are supposed to be independent. They are not supposed to be Republican or Democrats, but it is what it is. You know, we see that their character if they are nominated by a Republican president, we seem to see them as Republican in the way that they behave. They submit, they support the Republican agenda. It has not always been that, because a lot of those justices, when they come in, as they go in, they may be nominated by a Republican, but they go in and they have freedom because their job is life. They are appointed for life, so they shouldn't be afraid to uphold justice or to do justice the way they believe it is. By the way, this is what a lot of people may not understand. You know, there are 3 branches of the government. You have the legislature, you have the executive, and then you have the judiciary, which is the Supreme Court. I'm sorry to tell you that the most powerful branch is the judiciary, which is the Supreme Court. That's a discussion for a different time, but I'll tell you why it is. The legislature makes the law, the president executes the law, he signs it to make it into law and executes it. You know who can say that is not law? The judiciary, the Supreme Court. No matter what the president and the judiciary do, when it is challenged, the person that has the final say is the Supreme Court. So it's actually the biggest, it is the most powerful branch of the government, because Supreme Court says we say what the law is. So that means that no matter what anybody does, when it comes to the Supreme Court, that's the final decision. And you know what? The legislature and the president, both of them are supposed to do what? Obey the Supreme Court. So now you see why I say that the most powerful branch is the Supreme Court. And that's what it is, and that's how it is now. But we have a president now that refused to do what? To obey even the Supreme Court. And unfortunately, when the president does that, if they don't follow the law, there is a way that we handle it here. You impeach the president, and guess what? Who is there to say that his impeachment is okay and not okay? The Supreme Court, which according to him, he has 6 people on his side, and we need the majority. You know, a lot of bad things have happened since Trump has been in power, whether now or when he was there, because of the composition of the Supreme Court. You know, Roe versus Wade, a lot of things, a lot of bad things have happened, but it won't be like that forever. But Supreme Court being 6-3 is going to be there for a long time. That doesn't mean that the 6 justices that are voting along the Republican line cannot change their mind. Sometimes their conscience will make them vote against them. But, you know, we are waiting on that. Now, this is what has happened as far as immigration since Trump came in. We see a lot of denial of federal benefits, which, for instance, especially in New York, which is where we are, it doesn't matter whether you are a citizen or non-citizen. The New York State Constitution provides that New York must take care of its citizens, meaning that if you are here, it doesn't matter whether you are a citizen, non-citizen, you cannot be made destitute, which means that that's why you see soup kitchens, you see shelter, you see all of that. If you are homeless, it doesn't matter whether you're a citizen or not. Whether you're a non-citizen, illegal, the New York will give you shelter. They will give you something to sleep rather than you sleeping at the subway. Now, the money that New York uses usually comes from New York taxpayers and also federal help. You know, they allocate money based on services that the states provide. Now, Trump has threatened, and he has done it, to withhold funds from the states if they don't do what he wants. For instance, he's withheld education funds, he's withheld shelter funds, housing funds, especially against what we call sanctuary cities. I'm sure most of you know what that means, but I'll just make it clear. Sanctuary cities are cities or government that refuse to go along with what Trump wants. For instance, New York is a sanctuary state, sanctuary city. They will not cooperate with the federal government and say this is where non-citizens are, or a non-citizen has court dates today, or a non-citizen is going into probation today, that federal agents should come there. New York does not cooperate with the federal government when it comes to that issue. And Trump has been doing a lot to to deny them benefits. So now the pressure might come on most of these sanctuary cities when they are running out of funds, because how much more taxes can they tax New Yorkers in New York? If they say, we don't care about federal benefits, we'll do it ourselves. It comes to a point that the pressure will be too much that even New York might say, you know what, we will cooperate with you. And I'll give you an example of what just happened as soon as Trump came in. Remember Mayor Adams? That's our mayor as of now. That's the mayor of New York City. He was facing some criminal charges by the federal government during Biden administration. And when Trump came in, something went down. He said if he will cooperate with him and stop being a sanctuary city, he will let the charges go. And Mayor Adams' charges were dismissed. Actually, Trump wanted to use it. When you say you do something without prejudice, which means I'm going to dismiss these charges if you do this, but I have a right to bring it back. When that case went to the court, to federal court, they say, no, you cannot hold that against him like that. Either you're going to dismiss the charges or you're not going to dismiss the charges. So the charges were dismissed with prejudice. That means they cannot bring back the charges. Because of that, this is what has changed during that time when that negotiation with Mayor Adams and Trump was going on. Now, we now see that over the time that I've been here, federal agents, FBI, all of that, they were, immigration especially, they were never allowed to go to Rikers Island. You know, Rikers Island is where people who are facing crime, who are accused of criminal offense, of facing jail time in New York City. That's the biggest prison that we have. So they were never allowed to go there, because when they go there, of course, some of the people who are in jail or in prison will be non-citizens, and immigration, of course, will say, oh, because you commit this crime, we're going to deport you. That was never done in New York. Now that is happening. They are allowed to go to Rikers Island. If the mayor didn't allow it, it will never happen. And of course, there is an injunction on that, because the city council, thanks to your members of the city council, they challenged the mayor, and I believe the case is still in court, but there's an injunction that because Mayor Adams did that by executive order, meaning that this is what should be happening, and they challenge him, and that case is still in court with the preliminary order still in place. Now, another thing that Trump has done, some terrible things, is, you know, if there is a problem in a country, there is something called temporary protected status. It could be in Jamaica. It can happen in Jamaica, but it happened in Venezuela. You know, most people know what's going on in Haiti. The government is not settled in Nepal, in Cameroon. So there were temporary protected status that allow people who are from there to stay here, get social security number, and be able to work while there is problem in their country that they now cannot return. When Trump came, he terminated all of those things, and is working very hard also to terminate deferred action for youth, for children that were brought here without their own fault, whom they give work permits and social security, and they're able to go to school. Deferred action means that we know we should deport you, but we will not do anything. We will let you live and work in the United States. All of those things, Trump striped them. Nicaragua, Venezuela, Haiti, all of those countries, he terminated those deferred action. What that means to those people is this. Now, we know where you are because you got the deferred action and social security, and we will now come after you if we choose to. And what he is doing, even for those who are given refugee status based on humanitarian, America, we are very humanitarian. We try to help people. Those people who got those refugees, when and all these things, when they are terminated, what Trump does, which is even worse, is he has informed the Social Security Administration to put their names and number in a death master list. That means that these lists are there, and then they know exactly who these people are, and they can't get any help again. Now, in New York City, you see that people ride bike. There is a bike lane and all of that. If you are riding a bike and you didn't do what you are supposed to do and you violate the traffic laws, maybe because you're not wearing a helmet or you're not doing what you're supposed to do, what the police officers will do usually, or even a motorist, if you are driving and they stop you for a traffic offense, what used to happen is they will give you what we call summons. It's a civil summons. It's not a criminal summons. Now, imagine now what people are doing now, the police, what they're doing now is if you are riding a bike, you are a bicycle rider or a cyclist, and they stop you, rather than give you a civil summons for riding on the wrong side or on the sidewalk, they now give you what we call a criminal summons, a criminal court summons. So now, instead of you dealing with this in a civil manner, you are now going to criminal court. And you've heard what's going on. The federal agents, they are waiting outside of criminal court, even when they are not allowed to come there, to see who is coming out of criminal court. And then they start questioning them and detaining them. And those are some of the issues. These are real issues. Now, if you are afraid to go out or to go somewhere, you are right. I'm not telling you go. You need to assess your own risk. I have people that I represent that are even in immigration court. There is a time, and it is still happening, that if you have an immigration court date and then you go there, and this is ridiculous because we want people to follow the law, right? So if you have an immigration court date, the sensible thing to do will be to go. Now, if ICE, the police, the detention side of immigration is there and they are picking people up, then what do you think that does? That means people would not show up. I've had clients that would not want to show up, and I tell them that, look, if you don't show up, that means the judge will deport you in absentia. You are a bigger problem. At least if they pick you up, I know it's not the best thing. At least we can fight for you and try to get you out on bond. But then I let people make their own decision. And I have an idea the type of people that they wait for to pick up. I think it's more like the new arriving people who are coming in and filing for asylum. So if somebody came in within the last year and, through the border within the last year, and they have immigration court case, they should speak to their lawyer and make sure that they are not at risk, because those people will be picked up. The ones that I represent that have come here more than 2.5 years and they have immigration case, they're not picking them up, at least my clients. But the newer ones may be at risk. So nobody thinks that I'm riding a bike and then I violate, I'm not wearing a helmet, and suddenly I end up in criminal court, and then I end up in deportation, in ICE detention, because I show up in immigration court and I show up in criminal court. Now, when ICE sees you, they come to criminal court. It's not enough that they ask you question that did you commit a crime. That's not even the focus. By law, if they ask you, are you a resident, are you a citizen, and you are not, and you don't have a status, yes, they could detain you. But this has never happened before. We are not doing that. But now in the time of Trump now is deporting everybody, and he has mandatory detention just for petty offenses, like even be careful. I've seen people do this too. Please pay when you enter the bus or the subway, because New York City has officers there. And, according to Trump, any petty offense like that, you jump the turnstile and you end up in criminal court. God help you. Now, the worst part of it is people are being removed to countries that they've never been before, that they don't know. Very cool countries like Southern Sudan, Costa Rica, El Salvador, Libya. This is where people who may have come from Jamaica or from other countries are being deported to, which is, and by the way, all of these things that he's doing, that Trump is doing, they are being challenged in courts. Remember what I said about the composition of the Supreme Court? Look at birthright citizenship. I'm sure everyone on this panel know one or two people who have come to this country, who have come to New York or anywhere, from Jamaica, from anywhere, while they were pregnant and they came here, they have a child. The Constitution of the United States is you are a citizen of where you are born. If you are born in America, you are an American. The first thing Trump came back to try to stop is birthright citizenship. They went to court, they challenged him, and this is what the Supreme Court is saying. I don't want to bore you with the law, but I will explain it to you. Normally, when something like that is happening, what happens is they challenge the case in a federal district court. The judge if the judge agrees with what the plaintiffs, the people who bring the case, are saying, if the judge agrees with them, the judge will issue an injunction saying that Trump cannot do this. This is what should be happening. Unfortunately, Trump takes all these cases to Supreme Court just to overwhelm the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says any district court, and this is what's been happening since I know, or since everybody knows, that once there is an injunction by one federal court, that injunction applies to the whole country. So if one federal judge says, no, that people who are born here should retain their citizenship, we don't need 10 different judges to say the same thing. But now, because Trump challenges, the Supreme Court says that a federal court does not, one federal court, in one district, does not have a right to issue a countrywide injunction, and that everybody should then just go to have their own, to bring their own suits where they live. So how many suits are we going to have that we have an impact to stop what he's trying to do? Do we have to wait that somebody have a child and then they start their own suit against Trump to have birthright citizenship, or this? So that's part of, now he has also gone up to criminalize civil violation. What do I mean by that? Unlawful entry into the United States. Let's say somebody uses another person's passport and gets into New York using that. That's an unlawful entry, and that's a civil violation. Now, Trump is making that criminal now, so that if you do something like that, you go to federal court and you're going to be prosecuted. Normally, what should have been the result of that is they remove you from the United States. Now he's criminalizing all of these things. And he stepped up also using DNA to verify claimed family relationships. Yes, DNA is being used, if you ever hear about it, it's used outside of the country when somebody is coming for visa or they getting immigrant visa. But now he wants to use it when you file for your children here. If the children are here, now is using DNA just to exclude a
So,
lot of people. Yes.
let me chime in on that. Now, you mentioned they're using DNA. The biometric form, go ahead. The biometric form, isn't that to verify that the child is actually yours? Isn't that,
No, that's not what biometrics
so
does.
what's the purpose of,
Biometrics
yeah,
is only to check your criminal history and your background of the person for which the biometrics is taken. That's all biometrics does. Is biometrics is a all form of fingerprints, your picture, your phone, your face. And by the way, nowadays, the last few times that I've traveled out of the country, no passport was required to get back in. All they need is you look
absolutely.
at the camera, it
And
sees your
smile.
face, it says, "Welcome to the United States." I just
Yep.
came from a cruise, even the cruise line in New York, just a camera. You look at the camera, it gives you entry. Any other questions that are there?
Nothing yet, but I know they'll be coming in. Now, you mentioned about the sanctuary city, right? And
Yes.
uh, explain what that really means. I mean, are we safe seeing that those petty crimes, those, cause should folks move to New York because we are a sanctuary city? I mean, how safe are we? How sanctified are we? How you know?
Now, the problem with that is because, I mean, the fact of the matter is New York is a liberal state. Liberal means we kind of allow almost everything. We are very nice, unlike the conservative who believe, who are harsh. And that's what my problem is, because most people who claim to be conservatives, they also say they are the most religious, and the God that I know is not a harsh God. The
Hmm.
God I know is a God of inclusion that tries to include everybody, that is, that is very tolerating and all of that. So I never understood how, when they say that the Republicans are conservatives, and look at Trump, for instance, he doesn't qualify to call himself some evangelical Christian. What
Hmm.
is evangelical about Trump? You want us to talk about what he's done in the past, which I won't even get into.
No need,
What's
no need
happening
to.
with Epstein and all of that. Look at the dirtiness. How does he wake up in the morning and even look at himself and says he believes in God? I don't understand that. But that's a different story.
Yeah. So what makes it sanctuary is the fact that,
Sanctuary city is the definition is that if you are supposed to be safe, when you use it in terms of non-citizen, that the government, okay, some states like Texas,
yes.
and I'll talk more about Texas, if the government is looking for you, if the federal government is looking for you, or if you commit a crime and you're on probation, or you are in jail and your jail term is ending, the non-sanctuary cities or states, what they would do is they will inform ICE. They will tell
Okay.
ICE that, by the way, this person committed this crime. We're going to release him in November. Before we release him, do you want to pick him up?
Okay. So
So
therefore,
New
it talks
York,
to the communication between ICE and immigration. That's what
yes,
makes it sanctuary, right?
yes. If
Okay.
they say they won't communicate, but let me be honest with you that New York, even at sanctuary as they are, if you commit murder,
Oh
if you
yes.
commit a serious crime, they will call, they will do that, but they're not going to call because of some, little criminal infraction. But for instance, in Texas, they made a law. Here is this. Texas made a law in criminal code that if you commit a crime, then they find you guilty and you are a non-citizen, their judge in the criminal court can order you deported to your country. Now, the Department of Justice under Trump fought Texas on supremacy clause. What does that mean? Supremacy clause means that the federal government is the one that has power to do certain things. So something like immigration, the rights to deport aliens or non-citizens resides with the federal government. So the suit was right when they sued Texas. Trump sued the state of Texas. And then later on, they dismissed the case, they withdrew the case because they like what Texas wants to do. Now, instead of you, if a non-citizen is accused of doing something wrong, Texas wants to decide and wants to be the one that says you should be deported. Of course, the law is wrong. The law is still there because the Trump Department of Justice that was challenging it withdrew their challenge. But Texas has no right to deport anybody because immigration is reserved for the federal government under the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution.
All right, I have another one for you.
Right.
Now, the church back in the day under President Bill Clinton, we were able to apply for the R1, religious worker visa. What can the church do today to help? We are 501c3, we are bona fide, and we do have ministries across the United States and outside the states. How can we help to, and this is for both those who are in status and out of status. So that's a compound question. How can we, is there anything the church can do to, with R1 visas, religious workers? Does that still exist? Last time I checked, it was limited to pastors and assistant pastors, but not like lay members, evangelists, missionaries, and so on. What's your knowledge on that?
It's still the same. What you said about it is still what it is with R1. And remember, when you say those who are out of status or those who are in status, if you are out of status, R1 will not save you anyway. Because even if the petition is approved, the adjustment, you have already violated immigration law by being here for longer than the time that you are supposed to be. That's what out of status mean, right? You are already out of status. So and you have to leave the country in order to get it. God help you. Anybody who is out of status, who leaves the country to go and pick up their green card, I feel sorry for them. They may not be able to come back. And if anything was easier, is now more difficult. For instance, we are hearing the Trump administration is trying to raise the price of, that anybody who is coming to the United States as a visitor, you need to post a bond before you come. Now, that one died because I don't know how they want to implement that. If they say everybody should put down a bond of $1,000 or whatever they want, do you give it to the airline? And then, or do you give it to the consulate in Jamaica or in St. Vincent? And then what happens when you come back from the United States? Then you get your bond back. If you don't go back, then Trump wants that money. And then you are looking at R1 as opposed to what Trump will want, who is asking anybody who can come up with 500 million to come here and we'll give them citizenship, selling them and all of that. So, and as much as he's saying that all those deferred action is terminating them, look at what happened in just not too far. He allowed 59 people from the white South African, just in May 12, 2025, working with Elon Musk, he allowed 59 white South Africans to enter the United States, saying that to become citizens and green card because he believed that they had suffered under the black rule or some nonsense he said. So again, we know who Trump is. He's a racist. There is no hiding that. And that's what he wants to make America as white as possible. And the sad news about that is he is forgetting that what makes America are the immigrants, and I'll tell you from my own personal experience, you go to Albert Einstein Hospital, for instance, the one right here, which Our Lady of Mercy is now Albert Einstein also. You go there, as big as America is, as big as everybody is, the medical director and the CEO there is a Nigerian. So why? How come we can't find anybody else who was born here to be the chief executive officer of Albert Einstein Montefiore? So, and there's a lot of doctors, there are a lot of nurses, there are a lot of healthcare workers. Most of these people are immigrants. I remember when I came here in the 80s, no American, no indigenous, no born American wants to be a home health aide. They don't want to clean shit, according to them. But when they saw that that field is making a lot of money, all of them, even nursing, all of them now, native born, are now studying to become nurses, studying to become that because there is money in them. So it is the immigrant that really elevate this country. Look at the Indians, look at technology, you look at all of that. But they keep forgetting that. And even the simple thing about crop, who is planting, from Jamaica, St. Vincent, Belize, a lot of people come here, Mexico, they come here to plant and to sow, to pick up the crops, mango, fruits, and all of that. Now, most Americans will not do that job. That's too stressful for them. They don't have to do that because guess what? They are born here, they can collect welfare, they can say they are not feeling good, some disability, and collect money. Immigrants generally don't do that because they have different goals in their native country. They want to work, make money as much as they can so that they can build themselves and help their family back home. So that's the big difference between the way we look at it.
All right. Thank you. Let me open it up if anybody, all right, I'm checking the chat to see if there's any questions. Um, Now, we know about, ICE walking into a church. Back in the day, the church was a sacred place. We have members who are fearful of coming and congregating in their church. Is that still the situation in sanctuary cities? Or is that pretty much, the fact we're sanctuary cities, ICE couldn't just walk into a sanctuary, sit down and say, okay, interview at random? Is that possible in a sanctuary city with this?
Well, regardless of whether it's a sanctuary city or not,
Mm-hmm.
under the Constitution of the United States, anybody that knocks on your door cannot come in unless you invite them to come into your home. Now, hear me out. That does not mean that people cannot use trick to get into your home. That doesn't mean that people cannot use lies, but they cannot force themselves in. So whether it's a church, you can tell them, you can actually post something on your wall that you are not invited, and if you come in, your privilege to come in is withdrawn. You don't, ICE cannot come in. We are telling you don't come in. It's your right, it's your church. The same thing with a home. If somebody knocks on your door, and what immigration uses now is called Rosses. This is what they train their 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 agents. For instance, on the morning of July 9, around 10 o'clock, two ICE officers came to a private home in Brooklyn near Coney Island. When the agents, whose clothing were unmarked on the front side, knocked the door, the person that went to the door and they were somebody and who they're looking for leaving the door, they went to the door and they asked the other guy. The agent told the woman in Brooklyn in Spanish that they wanted to speak to a certain person about the Bible. About the Bible. The person and our friend did not open the door. The agents did not stay for long, and when they turned to leave, the woman and her friend saw that the back of their jacket said ICE on them. The agent then went to several other apartments. These are called Rosses. A Ross is a strategy that ICE used to get people they have to pre-identify themselves and target them for arrest. So they will tell a lot of lies when they come to your door. But the point is, you do not have to open your door. You do not have to share documents. You can ask them. You can say, why are you here? Who are you? Of course, they're going to lie that. But if they say, if they lie and you don't know who they are, they say, no, you go, you close your door and you go about your business. If they identify themselves as ICE or police or some lie, you say, well, you are police or you are ICE. I don't want you in my house. Do you have a warrant? You can ask them if they have a warrant. Of course, they're going to lie that they have a warrant. You say, okay, can I see your warrant? Don't open your door. Let them push the warrant under the door for you to read it. I'm going to repeat
But
that.
they say they have a copy. They have a copy, and they can't give it
No,
to
well, too bad. They cannot come into, if they have a warrant to arrest you, trust me, federal agents, they are very ruthless. If they have a warrant, they will bang that door down anyway. So the fact that they are talking to you is probably because they are nice, which they are not nice, or because they don't have a warrant. So you have a right to tell them, look, slip that warrant under my door. Let me see that it's my name and it's a warrant. And by the way, even though they are not lawyers, there are two types of warrants. Okay. The warrant that is a real warrant is one that is signed by, and you will see under the signature, judge. It has to say judge, magistrate, immigration judge. Immigration can also issue a warrant. If the warrant is signed by ICE or officer of immigration, those are not warrants. You do not have to open your door for those. Judicial warrant, that's what I'm talking about. That's the only time you need to open your door. And that's just under the Constitution. You have a right to privacy. You don't have to open your door for anybody. Unless there is a warrant, somebody cannot break down your door.
All right.
And you don't have to show them your documents.
Mm.
If somebody, they say, oh, we want to this thing. No, you can say no, no, no. You don't have to cooperate with them, because what's the point of you, if you are a non-citizen and you don't have a green card, what's the point of you giving them your passport that has no green card in it? You're just helping them arrest you. You're just helping them to identify who you are, that you don't have a green card. So you don't have to share your documents with them.
All right. So, what would you say? Thank you for sharing that to folks who are law-abiding citizens, but they're not in status. Should they live in fear, or should they go about doing their daily activities, like going to the supermarket, working? They work off the books, right? And they do pay their taxes, right? Because they got like a tax ID number. And should they just go in isolate, go in hiding? I mean, or
I
no?
mean, that going into hiding doesn't fulfill anything. So, I mean, you don't have, you just have to do calculated risk. What you can do, I can explain to some people what they can do to try to regularize or to try to get their position straight. Let me start with the one that I think is easiest,
Okay.
and it helps children, because I'm sure some of these people have children. If you have a child, uh, let's say you are here with a child, the father is back in St. Vincent or in their country, as long as that father, and most of them, the father doesn't even know what the child is doing, where the child is, under immigration law, you can get what we call special immigrant juvenile status in family court, which I do. Uh, as long as we can prove that the child has been abandoned by one of the parents and the child is under the age of 21 years old, we can apply for, depending on the age of the child, we can apply for either, we start from family court, we apply for either custody or guardianship, and prove that the child has been abandoned for at least 6 months because there is no contact with the father. And then once we get the special immigrant juvenile status from family court, that child is on the way to get a green card. Then the child is now declared as a ward, and we apply for green card. It takes about 3-4 years, but in the meantime, at least that child is protected because he will get work permit and social security during the time that he's waiting. That's the child. Now, the only problem is a child that gets the SC juvenile status cannot ever petition for that parent that we said abandon him, or, so that's just the way it is, but what's more important is the child. Now, as to those who are here, I tell people, even though people don't like to hear that, most people like to have a loved one, I'm not talking about whether that's right in church or not, but most people have like a boyfriend or a girlfriend. If you're going to have a boyfriend and a girlfriend anyway, and you are out of status, is it not smart to not only put everything into 100% love? How about trying to love somebody that can help you, that's a US citizen? Why do you need to love somebody who is also out of status and both of you can't help each other? I always tell people that. And they fight me. They say, oh, but what if that's who you love? I said, stay there, love that person, and don't have your green card for the rest of your life. So, of course, if you marry a US citizen, you'll be able to get your green card in the future. Even if the marriage turned out to be bad and there is domestic violence, we can file under VAWA and try to get you your green card, even if the husband or the wife doesn't cooperate all the way because there is dispute. If there is a fight, we can always try to do that. And the reason I went straight to that is most people who are here, who are already out of status, can only get their green card while they are here. I'm not a big fan of leaving to go pick up your green card outside of the country. So if you have a child, for instance, who was born here, who is a citizen, who reaches the age of 21, that child can file for you. So that's a good one for those who are already here. And I've had clients who are there here 23 years and 28 years. And the only time they got their green card is because the child they have here when they came here is now 21 years and they got the green card.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let me add to that. So you got married, and during the processing of your papers, they found out that you had some charges, right?
What's in charge? You mean criminal charges?
Criminal charges.
Okay. Yeah, criminal charges.
Criminal
Right?
charges. Yes. And, as a juvenile, they told you sign your plea guilty, yada, yada, yada. These files were closed. But now you're married, those records, for some reason, were opened up. And these are the things that are holding back the court from granting you. Bear in mind, you got your green card, but you just don't have your citizenship. And on that question, do you have any charges? You said yes. And once you said yes, red flag start blazing, and pretty much I'm not sure if they're going to deport. Is there waivers? What do you advise someone to do in that case? Because, like you mentioned, just jumping the turnstile, that now becomes a criminal. Just not paying the fare on a bus. So these are minor things, right? But now they're criminal things.
Yeah, criminal things, yeah. Um, when people come to me
Yes.
and they say that, I have a green card and I want to become a citizen, that's why people should, if money is an issue, do it on yourself, but protect yourself. The first thing I do is ask you a lot of questions that I see could be a problem for you. If anybody who has been arrested before, I want to have more serious conversation with them before they fight for citizenship. Because if they go there and they deny the citizenship, they
Mhm.
can put you in removal.
Right.
So it's not everybody that came out of the criminal justice, the criminal justice system that end up with ICE. Some people, they never, because we were a sanctuary city, we didn't call federal government ICE on anybody that came out of jail. Now, you need to look at whether or not the offense that they convicted you of, or that you signed, like you said, that you pled guilty to, is this a removable offense? And there is a whole line of removable offenses. So when you speak to a lawyer, they know what these offenses are. And at that point, I'm able to advise the person that, you know what, if I were you, I won't do it. But then you are in trouble, because as long as you are not a citizen, you are deportable. So you are removable. So it's a catch-22 situation, but at least you are not delivering yourself to them. So I think when you look at your situation before you file, then we'll tell you whether or not, because there are very clear rules. We know what is deportable. For instance, if you commit bank fraud, for instance, if you write a check that the victim could lose $10,000, that is a deportable offense. If you are in domestic violence relationship, well, it's men that usually they blame for that. If you beat up your wife and you are convicted of domestic violence, they can deport you because of that. If you violate an order of protection, they tell you don't go near a family member, your wife, your child, and you violate that order of protection, you are removable, you are deportable. So there's a whole list of offenses. Marijuana is not, it was a deportable offense. Now, it still is. Remember that, because I know people from West Indies, and, they don't think smoking marijuana is a big deal. Oh, because it is legal in New York State under federal law. It's not legal to smoke marijuana. I've represented somebody that they were trying to deport because of marijuana. And as a matter of fact, just so that I can explain, people that I filed for, that they are coming from Jamaica, I'm dealing with this guy now, this child who is what, 21? The father told me when I'm doing the papers that how is he going to get here, because I've spoken to him, he can't stop smoking marijuana. If they do medical before you can get your immigrant visa from Jamaica, not non-immigrant, immigrant, meaning you come in with a green card. If the medical disclose that you have marijuana in your blood, they will not give you that green card. They will not give you. I've had many experiences like that. They will tell you come back in 10 months after you stop smoking it and it is no longer in your system. So since I know that, this is what I told the father. I say, don't let's apply for the visa now, for the green card. Tell him to stop smoking.
Right.
And then after 10 months, then we will do it. And that's what we did. And he's supposed to go for his interview, I think, September 29. I hope they don't find traces of marijuana in the medical. If they do, that's his business.
All right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we're top of the hour, but let me ask this question. Child support. I think I heard some things around that. Let's call them deadbeat dads. They're not paying child support. Is that
Mhm.
now a crime? And if such a person, is that deportable? What's that immigration law?
No, it's not. But here is the problem.
Yes.
Violation of a court order is failure to pay child support, right? So, because I do family law, so I know, um, if you don't pay child support, it takes the person who receives the child support or the support collections unit to come to court and say you are in violation of a court order. Then there will be a hearing to determine whether or not you're not paying it because you can't work, you're not working, and blah, blah, blah. If the court finds that you are a willful violator, that you willfully violated the court order, then they will say, okay, how much do you owe? You owe 10,000. If you pay 6,000 out of it, we'll let you go. If you don't pay, then we'll give you, because when you violate a court order, you can be put to jail. That's where it's funny. No, now let's say you don't pay, the judge says, okay, go serve 90 days in jail, right? If it's Westchester or if it's New York City, you will end up in Rikers Island. If it's Westchester, you'll be in this place where Westchester County Hospital,
Yeah.
Westchester County
Yeah.
Jail in Valhalla.
Valhalla.
So
Mhm.
now, this is the same place that the same people commit murder to, right? So now you are in jail. If ICE come to that jail, it doesn't matter how you get there, right? Now you are facing ICE. They're going to ask you a question. Are you a non-citizen? If you have your green card, you don't have an issue because you didn't pay child support. It's no big deal. But if you are a non-citizen and they say, oh, are you a citizen? You say you are not. Well, they will pick you up because you are a non-citizen and you don't have any paper. So you want to avoid anything that brings you close to ICE. That's my point. But not paying child support is not enough. It's not a removable offense. They will not deport you because of that. But you should pay your child support though, because that child needs the money if
Yep.
you can afford it, or you negotiate with the mother. And the mother, if she's not very angry, will know your situation anyway, and you can work something out.
Yeah. Work on some co-parenting, whatever. All right. I thank you. I'm looking at the chat. I'm not seeing anything new. Anyone would like to unmute? I see Bishop all the way there from my good country there. Is that Kenya? All right. So if anyone, we're at the top of the hour. And if not, I just want to say to Ola, I thank you for stepping out of your schedule. I know it was hard to get you on, but our community needs to be informed. And the good Bible said, "My people are destroyed because of ignorance." And as a pastor and as a bishop, my job and my mandate is to inform God's people and educate them as much as possible. Can you tell me, sir, give them your address, your contact if they want to talk to you off the air, how can they reach you?
You can call me at 718-666-5189. Just introduce yourself, say that you are the Zoom meeting and you have a question, and I'll try my best to help you.
All right. So use my name. It has good credit.
Yes, mention the bishop's name before I tell you that this is what my consultation fee is, because I do charge consultation, but as a courtesy to
Yeah.
the bishop, I
Mhm.
will talk to you.
All
All
right.
right?
Okay. I see a mic open up.
Can you repeat your number?
Sure.
And the bishop, can you put it on the
The
chat
chat.
for them?
Yeah.
718.
Okay, hold on. Let me get my chat up. All right. Here we go. All right, here we go. 718, yep.
666
666.
5189.
And don't be
Thank
scared.
you.
All right.
You can text me, that's my cell phone. That doesn't mean I pick up all the time. If you call me Saturday, Sunday, you're wasting your time. I will not pick it up. But if you call me during decent business hours, I'm happy to talk to you. Yeah, I like to spend time with family just like
Okay.
you on weekends.
Yes, yes, yes. My Sabbath is my Monday.
So that's
Oh, yeah.
why. But if you text me, even if I don't respond during the weekend, I will respond on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
All right. All right.
Your last name is what? Azeez?
Yes, Azeez.
Okay.
If you
All right.
live in the neighborhood, you could never miss my office. My office is between 222nd and 223rd on White Plains Road. I've been there for 35 years.
Right. And he's one block from the church. And we are located at 3818 Barnes Avenue. We are in our 29th year anniversary service. So anyone who is listening, come on down. My good bishop from Toronto will be speaking tonight. We start at 6:30. So join us. And sure enough, God will continue to bless his family. So thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate
My
you.
pleasure.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you all for joining.
Bye.
God bless you. Appreciate you all. Have a good one.